Hi, Jacqueline. Thanks for joining me, and thank you for being the first lady in the Taking Care of Her Business feature or video series. I really appreciate you finding the time to stop and talk today about, your career path and even setting up your own business and your experiences as a Black woman in business. So thank you very much for that. And for anyone who's watching, Jacqueline is an emotional intelligence coach and a leadership consultant. And I think she's someone that a lot of us need to hear from and talk to right now. So first of all, Jacqueline, tell us a bit about your background and how you got started.
Right, and thank you very much, Esther, for inviting me onto the platform to do this. I feel really honoured, and I'm happy to share. My background is quite diverse. I started out as a human resource development specialist doing training. So I would consider myself classically trained. I learned to do training and design it from the very minutest thing right up to the biggest thing. So I can design and deliver anything that anyone needs, and it makes it more bespoke. And I've worked in organizations since the age of 16. I left school and went straight into work. So the experiential learning has been a big boost to where I am now and who I am now. And I started out my journey as a secretary, believe it or not.
Right, okay.
I started out as a secretary and had a real knack for IT and for working with individuals to actually get them upskilled on how to utilize the tools and resources, but also to sort of like get on with the jobs that they had to do. Yeah. And I loved it. Yes. Absolutely loved it. And went on from there. I spent 13 years in a bank, clearing bank, and I started as a copy typist, and by the time I got made redundant, after 13 years, I was a qualified trainer.
Really?
And I never looked back. So for me, I've just spent my whole career getting myself upskilled to a level where I can go on to another role where I can use the skills and the knowledge that I've gained beforehand with me, and then build upon that as well.
Right. So it sounds like you've had a background in a very people-focused background, always helping you to grow and develop. That's what it sounds like.
Very much so. Very much so. In terms of my business and where I am now, what is my business? My business is emotional intelligence. Right. It's training, coaching, and the leadership consulting. So everything to do with, soft skills, HR, right. Stress, change, they're all part of the emotional intelligence family, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, and I run them quite regularly. Conflict resolution, which is another big one. Okay. And for me, when I'm looking at clients, when you're working in an organization, your clients are your peers, your colleagues, the organization per se. When you're independent, you don't have that. It's not even luxury, but it's also that picky attitude to say, I want this person as opposed to that person. For me, I will train anyone who is interested in getting from A to B to C, to actually reach their goals and aspirations. And I use the tools and resources that I've amassed over the years to enable them to do so. So for me, it's about people who are serious and want to get themselves to a level where they can actually champion the challenges that they face and move on.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So getting to this stage where you then decided to start your own business, were you in a situation, or did you have times where you felt that you were led to do it, or did circumstances, I don't know, like changes in the economy or where you're working, were you pushed into it? What did you feel was your situation there?
I would say, in all honesty, all of the above.
Right. Yeah.
As a Black woman and as a professional, going into organizations and trying to get up the career ladder for yourself, it's been a big challenge. Yeah. Being qualified and more so qualified than your peers and counterparts, but still being marginalized, it does take its toll after a while. Yeah. And for me, the decision to branch out on my own came when I got made redundant for the third time.
Right, okay.
I got made redundant for the third time, and I actually got a job in the Middle East. So I had a year away from the UK, in the Middle East. I had time to reflect. I had time to put things down, pick things up. But I also had time to think about who I am, who I was before, who I am now, and who I want to be going forwards. And for me, the first thing that I had to do before I actually said, yes, I'm a business, I had to really forgive.
Right.
I had to forgive, because that gave me the release that I needed to move forward. So, you know, bullying and harassment is rife. I've been through it. I've worked with people who are in it. So I can talk about it, and I understand where people are coming from. I don't feel bitter about it, because it's helped to sharpen and hone my skills to help people, but also to really look at who I am as an authentic me, as a Black woman, as a professional, but also as a leader. So, you know, the first thing I had to do was to forgive. And I had to forgive so that I could move on. And when I decided that and felt it wholeheartedly, it was like a big release. You know, it was like a burden being lifted off of my shoulders. And then I decided that, right, okay, now what I have to do is I have to find out what my unique selling point is. I'm good at a lot of things.
Great.
What is Jacqueline Hinds all about? And more so, what am I going to call myself? And you know, when I first thought about it, I thought Phoenix, because each challenge that I faced, I felt like the Phoenix rising out of the ashes. So I thought Phoenix Consulting, and then I had a look. It was like there's loads of Phoenix, you know, out there. So I wanted something that people would think, oh right, okay, sounds nice. And in the end, I thought, you know something, my maiden name and my married name has a nice ring to it. My maiden name, Jacqueline Wilson, everybody automatically thinks about the authoress.
Right, yes.
Wilson. I said, no, we're not related, and I have no money from that. and Hinds is my married name. So I said, well, why don't I do Wilson Hinds Consulting? I thought, right, it's got a nice ring, and that was it. So once I decided on the name, I thought, right, okay, how am I going to package up my diverse skill set? How am I going to pick out the things that people really need and want? And it didn't really take me long, because I do people stuff anyway. So it was about who I am. I had to think about what's my tagline. And my tagline is helping individuals, teams, and organizations to realize, unlock, and release their potential to be the best that they can be. So how do they do that? I use all the tools and resources in my toolkit to enable them to do so. And it's very much bespoke. Because what I've found is that individuals, they will tell you they need this, but when you sit down and talk to them further, you think, no, you need this. That's what you want, but this is what you need. So it's very, it's very much bespoke around the client, and it suits their needs at this time, but it also enables them to grow from it. So I'm very particular how I actually do the development. So, you know, in that respect, that's how I became my business.
How you got there. So it sounds like if once this was more than just actually sitting with a piece of paper and writing things out, it was a lot of the emotional as well, and even maybe overcoming the whole thing of that where you go through redundancies, which I understand totally how that can affect you mentally and emotionally. So overcoming that, and then as a female in business, and then also as a Black woman as well, you know, in the Western world and in business and your identity, it sounds like you were having to really manage all of those areas, you know, and how you can balance them.
Yes, very much so. It's about being authentic and not actually relinquishing who you are, you know, ethnically, you know, as a woman, you know, your skills, not giving them up. And it's not compromising yourself either, because sometimes we get put in situations where we have to compromise ourselves, and it never really sits you know, well with us, but because we have to go with the flow, you know, we tend to do so. I decided that I wasn't prepared to do it anymore. I wasn't prepared to do it anymore. And yeah, and I actually got made redundant for the 4th time from the Middle East, and that crystallized everything. As soon as I actually came back to the UK, I decided, right, I'm going to go and get myself skilled up again. And I flew all the way to the States, and I got trained on the EQI 2.0 and EQ 360 assessment tool, and as an accredited coach. Fantastic. And it wasn't until I went out there that I realized that I'd actually been doing emotional intelligence all of my career, but I didn't realize the name that was
the label to put on it.
I didn't realize the label that it was given. And you know, in all honesty, once I actually sort of like understood, it was almost as if, you know, I became one. Everything just crystallized, everything synergized, and when I came back, it's like I never looked back.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was my awakening.
That's a big part of you and what you're about and how you like to work.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's brilliant. So with regards to, you know, the challenges that you were facing, I mean, some of those that, you know, can you talk about some of the challenges you faced and how you overcome those, whether they were physical or, I don't know, emotional or other kind of barriers along the way?
Yeah, I think, you know, a lot of people can resonate with this, where you work hard and you think you work hard, you get the qualifications, you get recognized. And more often than not, you do get recognized, you do get utilized, but it gets abused. And
I know where you're coming from, yes.
And I go back to the forgiveness aspect, because for me, a big part of who I became and who I am now was realizing my true potential as an individual and what I could provide to other people, but also, you know, developing resilience in the face of adversity. Because whilst I was going through my challenges, I was actually supporting and coaching people that were going through theirs as well. So I had to put my feelings and my issues aside in order to help other people.
You were learning on the job.
Oh, absolutely. And it was quite cathartic as well, because, you know, helping them heal was helping me to heal. And helping me to sort of put things down, you know. And I realized that the challenges that I faced, it wasn't about me, that I wasn't good enough. I knew that I was good enough, but I had to reclaim that knowledge and that authority, you know. And it told me that it was more about the individuals that were placing the challenges in my pathway. So again, I had to go back to the forgiveness aspect in order that I can be professional and I can carry on and do what I wanted to do. My goals and aspirations were waiting for me, and I could see the goal, but, you know, the pathway wasn't clear yet, and I had to sort of take that journey. So for me, it was more about getting myself up and sort of making, you know, the headway, but also taking that leap of faith and saying, I need this, I want this, I'm going to do it.
And you know what, that when you said that bit about good enough, and I think that word enough, and I think that's a thing, I think everyone can go through it, but I think especially as women, there is still this thing, particularly in business or work or with our achievements, so that word, are we good enough or enough, always seems to come up a lot. And I don't know, I kind of think that, you know, even as black women as well, then again, the things that we're up against, so that being good enough thing, that we kind of have a double layer of it on us.
Absolutely. It's also, it feeds into the imposter syndrome, because, you know, sometimes when you get given a gift and you think, wow, I don't deserve it. Yes, you do. You've worked hard for it. So you need to tell yourself that you are good enough. You're good at what you do, and you need to build upon it, and you need to accept it. A lot of things that I did was career coaching as well. And one of the first things that I used to do with individuals, I used to say to them, well, what are you doing now? Oh, I haven't done much. I've only done a bit of this and a bit of that. So I used to use a scenario with them and say, look, if I gave you a blank piece of paper and a pen and said to you that the pen was magic, forget about what you're doing now, but anything that you wrote down, which was your heart's desire, you would achieve it. And you have to write it down. Then they start thinking, oh, well, I did this and I did that. I said, right, put it down in your CV.
Yes.
And once they started doing that and saw that it was taking shape and they owned it, you saw the difference in their attitude and their understanding of who they are, where they've been, you know, and where they're going.
They are good enough.
Yeah, and they are good enough. And for me, you know, money's important, but it's not my big goal. What really helps me to sort of like feel accomplished in the things that I do is watching somebody develop their wings and fly. For me, that is so empowering and so rewarding, you know, but I still need to get paid, you know, so that I can pay the bills.
So, you know, at this stage then, I mean, some of the material you've created or the workshops, I mean, tell us about some of the content or the material that you've been putting out there so far, you know.
Right, yeah. Since I've sort of like found my true calling in emotional intelligence, it's just gone from strength to strength. A lot of the things that I've done, because I've worked in the healthcare for 10 years, and I can consider myself an anomaly because I've worked in both Imperial College Healthcare and Barts Health before, during and after they merged as trusts, one being Imperial being 10,000 staff, Barts Health being 15,000. As a human resource development specialist, I was able to sort of like work with individuals and design workshops. So for me, it's like picking up the momentum and looking at the skills that I've got and how I can enhance on that. I've actually written a paper. I've got a program on how to help individuals via multidisciplinary working, people that don't normally work together, to work together and actually start creating something amongst themselves rather than in silo mode and mentality. And as I sort of like started to work through the things that I'd done in the past, I've just built upon it. And one of the things that I'm actually running now is an accreditation program, because as far as I'm concerned, and to my knowledge, I'm the only person here in the UK who is a certified emotional intelligence coach.
Right.
So I'm trying to bring the founder and the chief exec of the Society of Emotional Intelligence over here to actually run the program so other people can benefit. The accreditation program is quite seamless. And if you've got a specialism, it actually weaves emotional intelligence into your specialism so you can virtually hit the ground running. So I'm running that, but I'm also running a 2-hour workshop, which is hosted by the BBC next month on emotional intelligence. And I'll share a skills assessment tool, which is a preamble to the EQI, and it actually helps individuals to understand their skills around emotional intelligence so that they can start working towards, right, okay, weaving this into who I am, my skills, and then moving into more in depth, because the EQI has a report and it's one-to-one feedback and it's more in depth. It actually gives you your emotional intelligence framework. So those are a couple of the things that I'm actually doing at present. Right. And I'm really excited about it.
The great stuff to come, and I don't know where you're going to find all the hours in the day.
Well, somebody said, a wise person said, you know, business is great. It's 99% perspiration and 1% inspiration. And I think the perspiration bit, the late nights, all of that, you know, I can vouch for that. But when it's your passion, you don't see it as a chore. You see it as a pleasure to be able to create something to help others. You know, for me, it's you know, it's fantastic.
The purpose, it's a solid reason.
Absolutely.
Okay, so last point, what advice would you give to, you know, us black women out there who want to maybe start a business, potentially get into the sort of market that you're in, the coaching business, you know, advice from me, whether setting up or even how they're feeling about themselves and getting there to actually take that step. What advice would you give?
Well, I would actually advise them to find a coach.
Great.
Get coached, you know, around your business, around your goals and aspirations, around your fears. You know, go on a couple of workshops as well. See how other people do their business.
Yes.
But more often than not, sit down and work through who you want to be, what you want people to see, and put the mirror up in front of yourself, because sometimes how you see yourself is not how other people see you.
Yeah.
So you've got to sort of like put yourself in a position where it's not just you doing the prima donna bit and saying, yeah, I'm fabulous. Other people have to see that you are good at what you do, and they want to come to you because you are good at what you do and you get results, and people walk away with more than what they walk through the door with. And that is the main thing. But within your business, it has to be something that you can build upon. It has to be something that you're passionate about. Come rain, come snow, come, you know, autumn, you will get up and do this without fail. Even if you've got a headache and you think, duvet day, no, you're letting people down, you do it. That's when you realize that this is your calling and this is what you want to do, regardless. So you know, what I'd say is the takeaway things is sit down and think about, who do you want to be? The authentic you, not the love to be like this, the authentic you. And then who's your target audience? Get yourself a coach to help you refine who you want to be and how you move forward. And also join networks, get some, you know, access to some really good networks, and surround yourself with people that will elevate you.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for that advice. And I know that's advice I'm going to be taking. I'm going to keep going with myself. So thank you so much. It's
You're welcome.
Fantastic and truly powerful words there. And yeah, I'm sure, you know, people will really enjoy listening to this. If people want to get in touch, what's your website address, or the best way to get in touch?
Right. Best way to get in touch with me is information at wilsonhindsconsulting.com. Or if you're interested in emotional intelligence, you can try my information at soeiuk.org. No, let me start again. Sorry, I did that wrong.
That's all right.
It's soeiuk.org.uk.
Brilliant. Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, I'll be adding bits to this and trying to share that.
Absolutely. And the websites as well are there.
Great. Well, that is brilliant. Thank you so much for your time, Jacqueline. And honestly, I've got a lot from this, and I'm sure other people will as well. And I'm just looking forward to see what you're doing and what you put out, and really to enjoy, you know, your work as you keep going. So thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you very much, Esther.
Have a good day. All right.
You too. Bye. Bye.